morning, everyone. Everyone's out here having a lovely swap at the Froggy Creek Community Exchange, and the library down there as well. So we've got lots of reason to be here, spending a bit of time together. And we thought we'd put on a little show about how to propagate plants, make it a little bit educational for you guys as well. So my name's Jason, I'm from Horticulture. And today we're going to show you how to propagate native herbs. So I'll give a quick run through of what we've got to propagate, and then I'll go through from start to finish what I might do at home when I'm propagating them. So at the front here we've got the cut leaf mint bush. So it's also known as native thyme. Has a really strong scented leaf, as you'd expect from something with the name of thyme. If you want to have a little bit of a smell later, come up and have a smell, and we'll also be taking cuttings directly off this to show you how to propagate it. Pop that down there for now. In the bucket of goodies over here we've got a bunch more. So we have something from the Plectranthus family called Plectranthus Mount Carbine. If you've never smelt the leaf on this, you're missing out. So it's a really strong sort of lemony scent, great in teas, great in cooking as well if you want to add a lemon flavour. We've got the Mentha Australia, so the native river mint. It's another one. It's probably a little bit stronger than your typical mint, so it's a really good one again for flavouring your drinks. This is a bit more of a staple, this one, so known as Old Man Saltbush. If you get up nice and close, you can see little shiny crystals on the leaves, so the plant tends to deposit little salt crystals there to give it a slightly salty taste. But really, once you've steamed it, it tastes very much like spinach. Very good for you as well. I've got ruby saltbush, so it gets little red berries once it gets mature. It's an excellent one to snack on in the garden. Good one for the kids. We have some white aspen, so very similar relative to the lemon aspen. Similar sort of thing. It has leaves that have a really, really nice sort of strong lemony scent, perfect for tea. It also gets a fruit later that you can use in all sorts of ways in cooking, particularly drying, powdering, adding to desserts. It's an amazing one. The last one I've got hiding in here, sounds a little bit of a wild card, so it's known as a native currant tree. So it'll get pretty big, good 10 metres plus. And eventually gets these little berries that turn sort of a reddish pink and then black if you leave them on long enough. It's a really interesting one to grow, and I've only recently tried it from cuttings, and I was surprised to find it actually goes from cuttings quite well. So these have been in here about 2 or 3 weeks, and if you come and have a closer look, there's already some roots coming through the bottom. So maybe not 100% success rate, but there's at least 3 in there with shoots out of about 6 or 7. Not bad for putting it in the corner of the garden and forgetting about. So why might we use cuttings to propagate plants? Well, number one, it's really easy to do, costs basically nothing, and you can put 100 in a pot, and if 3 take, you've had a win. So the other reason you might do it is you've got, say, a fruit tree or a herb plant that tastes really good, or something that you've maybe got a bit of an attachment to, and you want to take it with you when you move. So a lot of people would find it a daunting task digging up a huge plant, trying to take it and replant it. Why do that when you can just take a few cuttings and you'll have 3 or 4 plants, within a few months? So with cuttings, a few things to remember. You don't want to usually choose something that's overly long. So when I'm going to do cuttings, there's no way I would use a branch that long. You could probably use a general rule of thumb of two nodes for roots, so two for roots and 1 for shoots. So when I say nodes, I'm talking about the little lumpy bits on the side of the stems where the leaves come out. So look, we've got 1, 2, 3. So your first cutting, if you really wanted to spare your material, could be that big, barely 10 centimetres. I like a bit of insurance on mine, and it makes them look a little bit more sizey. I might go 4. So I've got 2 for roots and 2 for shoots. So that one little branch, I've got at least 4 usable cuttings. So what do you do when you got one like this with heaps of leaves on it? You might be tempted to go, oh, that looks more like a plant. I'm just going to stick that in a pot and let it grow. Well, with this one, you'd probably be lucky, it probably would, but most of them, these leaves are going to lose water from that stem like no tomorrow. So it's going to dry out and die. Say I pick something like this and I left all the leaves on, it's going to dry out and die probably within 3 or 4 days, and you're not going to get anything grow from it. So as a general rule, you really want to relieve or remove most of the leaves off the plant. So I tend to leave a few of the slightly older leaves at the top, and I'll take away just about all those really fresh tips up the top. It's got a nice little growth point there as well, which is probably where the main plant will start growing from, which is at the 3rd shoot up. So just about ready. It's a bit of a hot day, so I'm feeling like maybe I should take just a little bit more, because we really don't want it to dry out. So that's about what it should look like when it's ready to actually plant. So you could just stick this in the soil, and a lot of the time that's good enough, and you'll get a plant, and you don't even need to worry about doing special cuts. Stick it in and it will grow. Other things, sometimes you want to take a little bit more effort. So you might have something you've tried to propagate a few times before and haven't had any success. So a few ways that you can improve that. So you can make a little angle cut at the bottom. It's going to increase the surface area down there. So even though it doesn't have any roots or any great ability to take up moisture, through that spot there, it'll take up a little bit. And that might be the difference between a successful cutting and one that dies and withers away. Another thing you might do is you want to try and help it root faster, so it's not going to dry out. So you can get a whole bunch of different products out there, but one really good one is called Auxin, and it's basically a rooting hormone. So I like to be a little bit thrifty and buy it in the concentrate form. It costs you about $12 for a 50ml bottle, and because I bought it a few times before, I have some old jars, and I just put different concentrations on it. So I'll put a little bit in as I'm using it and water it down to the concentration I want. So 50% would be 50-50 water and rooting hormone, and you just give it a quick dip in that, and those hormones will help stimulate root development. So they'll do two things. They'll also slow down the rate of the shoot growth. So if you get shoot growth too early, it's going to put too much of a demand on the plant, and it might not have enough roots to be able to cope, and it'll either die or grow very slowly and poorly. So rooting hormone can help, but to be honest, I probably don't use it terribly often, only on ones that I know are difficult to propagate. You can get it in powder form as well. That one's probably a little bit easier to use if you don't want to muck around with diluting it. So next step, so you've dipped it in some nice hormone. What other things could you dip it in? So some people use honey or cinnamon, maybe even willow water. I like to think of those things as root promoters. So they're not going to stimulate root growth, but they're going to help the cuttings stay healthy. They're going to prevent bacterial infection. They're going to help stop bad fungi from getting in there. So that's another way. I have tried the cinnamon and the honey, and a lot of the time it's really hard to say it makes a huge difference. Some people swear by it. I'm not against using it. I'll sometimes use it if I've tried all other things and I'm not really getting anywhere with the cutting, and sometimes you get lucky. Alright, so we've talked about what to dip it in, how to cut it and trim it. Now, what do we do after that? So again, you could just stick it in and it could grow, or you could go a little bit further. So if you just stick it in forcefully, sometimes you're going to damage all the nice tissue there, and it's going to create extra chances for it to die from bacterial infections. So you get something we call a dibber. For me, it's just a little bit of a broken plant stake or a skewer. It's good to have a few different sizes. And you just make a little hole. I like to go on a slight angle because it means you're going to make more use of that pot space and pot volume, and your roots are going to spread out more in the pot. So dig it in like so, pat it down, and give it a good water in, and there's a cutting. If you want to go a bit further, you can do the same thing. Add a bit of mulch to keep moisture in as well, and through my extra thriftiness, I've made a little cutting humidifier over a milk bottle, so just trim it however you want. And after you've given it a good water in, pop that over the top. If you want less humidity, cap off, more humidity, cap on. This is going to mean you're not going to have to remember to water it as much. Done. Now we've set up this morning to have, for you guys to have a go at propagating, so I'm probably going to get working on trimming these to the right size, so we've got a few to start with, but we've got some pre-filled pots, and we've got some other ones down there if you want to fill them up as well, and there should be enough for everyone to get maybe 2 cuttings each.
And thanks guys for the bottle donations, because that meant we had the cash to buy potting mixes and things like that.
We've also
thanks
got some
Kate
seeds
for all your
of
bottles
natives too, if people want to use those. Just bury them about a centimetre down when you plant them.
And we'll be putting the video up, well, somebody will be putting it up online and when it's been edited on a page somewhere. Thanks, Jason.
There's some plant labels here.
Don't forget to label your plants, guys.
I've got the species here, but obviously it's a little hard to decipher because there's so many, so ask me and I'll let you know what they are and help you out with the labels as well, so you know what you're
Jason, do you just want to talk about how long you should leave them before you leave them on a plant cart or take them and give them to somebody? Because this is crucial.
So, out of this, funnily enough, this is probably the only one you could stick in a pot and put in the cart and might grow. Everything else would probably die here. What you really want to do is make sure that they've got some established roots before you put them up there, because especially in summer, they're going to lose water really fast, and it's going to be very difficult for someone to water them twice a day or come out and control having these guys on it so they take. So it's good to keep them in a nice shady spot for at least 2 or 3 weeks. Even better, the time that you know it's probably safest is when you actually see some little roots coming out of the bottom. That lets you know that it's got a fair amount of root mass in there, and it's going to be able to tolerate drying out a little bit and the summer heat. So otherwise you're probably just donating nice mulch sticks to the cart, which creates extra work for Vicky.
Or your cart, or anybody's cart.
Or anyone's cart. So yes, do give them time to take root, and as I've shown with this one, you're not going to get every one of them to shoot. So if you put a cart full of freshly made cuttings, a lot of people are probably going to go home with little dead sticks after a week or two, and they're not going to be super happy. We want them to have good experiences when they come and visit the exchange cart.
Thanks, Jason.
Thank you.